Well, hello. This is my very first YouTube video, official YouTube video on this channel. Um, I'm my name's Clem, and I am a young, aspiring writer and director, and I thought it'd be fun to just have some fun and show the world my interest in film and cinema and how much I love being a director. And I want to share my side with the world and see your guys' side in the world of cinema, your opinions, thoughts, anything, because I feel like that's how cinema gets shared and continues on through generations, is if you just make your honest opinion about it. But today's video is gonna be kind of basic, but I thought it'd be a nice, fun idea to do. It's gonna be my top 50 movies of all time. Top 50. It's gonna be a long video, so you gotta stay with me. If you wanna put it on anytime, pause it, go for it. If you wanna come back to it later, that's awesome. But as long as you watch the video and hear some, I'm fine with that. If you don't wanna watch it, I'm fine with that too. But that being said, let's get into it. Here are my top 50 movies of all time. But number 50, Speak No Evil. Now, this movie came out earlier this year. Well, not earlier this year, but a couple months ago, in I believe September. And the things I loved about this movie, it made you think a lot. That was the type of movies I love. The movies that make you think. And I'm a big psychological thriller, psychological horror guy, because I don't just like watch horror movies and thrillers just for the scare and everything. I want to like be in the presence of the movie and think like the protagonist. And I think that movie captured that really well, because fair warning, there's going to be spoilers in this movie, but I mean spoilers in this whole video, but the way they went about it, of how they made you think the little boy was their kid, and then the little boy tried to let the little girl know what was going on, but he doesn't speak English, he speaks Dutch. So it's like there was kind of some undertones of like what's going on, like I need to know more. But the only bad thing about it was a bit of a, I don't want to say drag, but it didn't get to the point in a steady pace. Like it had its high and low points, but it'd be like a medium high and a low low, you know. But overall, I give this movie a nice 7 out of 10. Number 49. Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Now, Captain America: Winter Soldier, in my opinion, is the most perfect Marvel movie. There's nothing bad about this movie. There's no real flaw into this movie. I think the combat's nice. I think the story's nice. I think Bucky and, well, the Winter Soldier and Captain America's rejoiced relationship, friendship, was a nice hint to it, because I know they didn't come together as friends in the movie, but like Bucky did wake up a little bit and was like, dang, this like that is my best friend. That is, I know that guy. Like, why am I doing what I'm doing? And then that was just, I believe this is the best, in my opinion, the best Marvel movie to be made. Infinity War, yeah, is good. Endgame is good. But I don't think anything will be able to top Captain America: Winter Soldier in years to come. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I should say. The number 48. Number 48. The number 23. This movie is very, very forgettable to some people who don't watch movies that often. And I remember I seen this movie twice in my life. And it's a Jim Carrey film. And you know Jim Carrey, he's a very good actor, very talented actor. But this movie right here really put a high standard for me for how good of an actor he is, because not only does he do comedy, mainly he does comedies, but this movie he was on, I would believe it'd be the I'd say it's a drama thriller, sort of a mystery too, because in the movie he sees the number 23 very often, and he wants to know why he sees this number 23. And I believe, from memory, I believe it turns out that he implemented this number onto himself somehow, some way. I forget. I would have to give the movie a rewatch, but off of memory, number 23 is a great movie. The only bad side about it is it could be slow, but it was very manageable. And I give this movie a 6 out of 10. Oh, and for Captain America, sorry, 8 out of 10. Number 47, Boy with the Striped Pajamas. Now, no movie has ever made me cry in my life. No movie. None. But this movie right here, I seen it when I was 14, and when I watched this movie, I had a new found way of life, honestly, because I didn't take anyone's friendship for granted. I understood point of views more. I never belittled anybody for having a different point of view, because that's all this movie taught me, was that people can have different point of views even when the wrong is going on in the world or people are doing them wrong. And it made me feel, I would say, kind of better about myself, because I'm like, okay, if that's the way it is, then it's like I would have to see the world in a better place now after this movie. That's what I feel. And the only thing I didn't like about the movie was that the father didn't see his wrongdoings until his son was murdered. So I was like, you should have seen that coming. You should have not been on the Nazi side. But it was beautiful to see the Jewish boy and the Nazi son really build a friendship without even knowing what's going on in the world at that time. But I'd give this movie a nice 8 out of 10. Nice 8 out of 10. Number 46, another movie that's come out this year. There's going to be quite a few 2024 movies in here, but this movie right here, number 46, Challengers. Now, Zendaya and her two co-stars were amazing in this role. This, in my opinion, is one of those few films, few films that has a 10 out of 10 script. Because there's nothing more better than telling a story one by one by one by one, and then it adds up in the third act. That's just amazing to me. And the way they did it was, there's a tennis match the whole movie. One tennis match, not 3, not 4, not 5. There's one tennis match the whole movie, but it starts a week prior, leading into that tennis match. You see? And I feel like that was the most perfect thing, script-wise, I've seen in a theater ever. The only downside I had with it was the ending's resolution. I didn't get it, because what happened was they were serving back and forth to each other, and then I believe it was 40 love. No, it was 40-40, and one of the friends hit the ball. It's the movie. By the way, the movie's about two friends that have a best friendship in college, but there's this one girl that's in the way of both of them. So they're hitting the racket back and forth, and one of them winning the match, and then they hug, and then it cuts to Zendaya, and she's smiling, So in my mind, I think she's happy that they became friends again, but I don't know. So that's the only part I have iffy about the movie. But other than that, the movie's 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Whew. Number 45. Children of Men. Now, once again, just like the number 23, I've seen this movie 3 times, and that's due to my mom not having a lot of money as a child, and we had 3 DVDs, and this being one of them. But from what I know, what I remember, this movie is sad. It kicks off like that, and the cinematography and the camera work in the first what 30 minutes of that movie is just amazing. Like when they do the car scene where the wife gets where they get ambushed and the wife gets shot, you just feel like you're in there in that moment, and you feel for the character a whole lot. And he goes on this long journey with a pregnant woman trying to get her safe. So it's like, oh, I get you're going through this, but then you took the burden to help this woman out. That was amazing to me. I liked that. I really did like that a lot. But the one thing that I disliked about it though was nothing. Got you there. But overall rating, I give it a 5 out of 10 from what I remember. If I watch it again, it'd probably be a higher rating, but I give it a 5 out of 10 for right now. But that's my number 45. Sorry about that. Had a little little mishap. But 44 was Species, and I'd give that movie a 6 out of 10 for what I like. Number 43, Uncut Gems. Now I've only seen this A24 movie one time, but I will say this is what jumped me into the A24 scenery, because not only for the fact of it jumped me in it because I wasn't really fond of the company when it started, when like they released their movies before, but this movie right here, once again with another comedy household name like in Adam Sandler, it showed me that he could do more than just be a funny guy. He could be a serious guy. He could be a guy who's grounded to his work. And not saying he isn't grounded to his work, but this movie showed me that he can be more than that funny guy. And I really like when comedy strong actors or actresses jump out and then become more than just the funny person in their movies and in their life. The only thing I didn't like about it was the ending. I did not like how he died. It was just not my favorite thing. It really tore me down. But in the same sense, it was good that he died, because you needed that sorrow in your heart. But the rating I give this movie is a 9 out of 10. Go check it out if you haven't seen Uncut Gems. 42. Midsummer. Now, another A24 film, but this movie right here blew my mind. Like, watching this, I didn't see it in theaters. I seen it on Prime. But watching this by yourself as a 15, was I 15? No, I was 16 when I watched it. Watching this as a 16-year-old kid by yourself is something I do not recommend, because this movie here was just a big mind fuck. It's one of my favorite A24 movies of all time. Granted, to the X and the X trilogy, those are great movies too. But this movie right here is just a big mind fuck. And I really appreciate it for that, because like I said, I like movies that give you the whole headache and just make you think, and you're just like, what's going on? But the only bad thing about this movie is we're making our protagonist feel like she's wrong or like she's crazy the whole movie. But her getting her clarity at the end with everybody around her, that was a nice touch for me. I like that. So overall rating is a 7 out of 10 for me. Number 41, Hereditary. Hereditary. This movie, once again, a big A24 cornerstone. It's it's I give it its flowers because it knows how to. This movie is one of probably the best cult horror movies ever, and it did a really good job of showing that cult horror. The only thing that I didn't like was the ending when it threw me off with the naked people. It just threw me away. I was like, okay, it wasn't a. I'm not saying it's a bad note of the movie, but I'm just saying it was just okay. Did we need to see that? You know. But overall rating, I give it a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 for that. Now, we made it through 10 good movies. And for my number 40 spot is another James McAvoy movie, Split. Split is that horror movie. I started my horror movie kick in 2017, so anything before that I didn't watch in my free time, but anything before that came out before 2017 I eventually got to in later years. So for the past 7 years I've just been a big horror guy, and now I'm like stretching out to thrillers and dramas and psychological, like I'm finding different branches and stuff, seeing what I like and what I don't like. But this movie right here, when I first seen it in 2017, I wasn't scared. I was just more so worried the whole time, like, oh my gosh, this is strange, it's weird, it's new, like, you know. And then past month or two ago, when I learned that it's a part of it's just a big trilogy that it's in, made me love it even more. But James McAvoy's performance, ranging from Miss Patricia, to Hedwig, and so on and so forth, was just all perfect because only one guy did all those personalities, and that was just a keynote for me. The only thing I didn't like about it though was the girls were not the other two girls were not being reasonable at all. Like, they just weren't making common sense runs big with me, and they did not have that common sense. I feel like, but overall, 8 out of 10 movie. Number 39. The best spoof of all time, Spaceballs. Spaceballs is the number one spoof ever made. Being made in, let me see what year it was made in before I get it wrong. I believe it was 1988. I believe it was created. Spaceballs. 1987. 1987. And this movie right here is, for its time, the greatest spoof ever. To this day, the greatest spoof ever. It has continuous laughs. It keeps you on your feet with comedy. It shows a new light to what Star Wars was back then. And growing up watching this just made me laugh all the time, and it still make me laugh even with the same jokes that I've seen countless times. So me, there's nothing bad about this movie. For it being a spoof, it's a spoof. You can't find anything wrong about a spoof, you know. But overall, I give this movie a 6 out of 10 for what it's known for, you know. Another Jim Carrey movie. At number 38, we have The Mask. Now, this movie would be a lot higher, if I didn't love the second one so much. But the second one's not in this list at all. I grew up more with the second one, and I can see why people don't like the second one. I understand. But the first one, it has more of a keen spot in my heart. I like the second one a lot, but the first one, I like it because it's not as goofy. I like the second one because it is goofy, if that makes sense. But it keeps you laughing. It keeps you going. It's not one of those comedy movies that's just funny all the time. It has drama. It has a a very good antagonist within Cillian Murphy's mask villain. And in my opinion, that's the one bad thing about the movie. His mask. I did not like that at all. He looked like a buffed up Mucinex booger. And I get it. He's green. You gotta make him look villainous. But like, come on. We could have done something better. Overall though, 8 out of 10 for this movie. Number 37. Disturbia. That is Shia LaBeouf's, outside of Transformers and Holes and Fury and all his movies he's done. This movie, with solely him being that guy, is amazing. And this is the movie that's not only given me 2 new things in my life, it showed me you can make a movie with one location primarily. You don't need a lot of locations to make a good movie. You can use one to 5 locations max. I found this movie being bored though, and I needed something to watch. And when I put it on, it was just a clean watch through. There was no interruptions. There was no bathroom breaks. There was no getting water. There was no food. I was just watching this movie. And being what it was, it gave me a new love for, I guess you could say, punk music. And Lonely Day to this day is my favorite punk song, just because of that awesome montage they had of him sitting down, being bored at his house, not having his game, not having TV, all of that. And what I didn't like was the beginning when the teacher got pissy because he overstepped with, what's his name? With Cal. He overstepped with Cal's dad being dead. And then he wasn't expecting nothing to happen back to him, so he pressed charges. I didn't like that. But overall, 9 out of 10 movie. Number 36. Who would have guessed it? Another Jim Carrey movie. The Truman Show. Now, The Truman Show is very much so a comedy, drama, mystery in my head. Because the whole time we're following Truman and making sure he doesn't figure out that he's in a that he's being watched by a camera at all times. He doesn't know that. Everybody that he's living with knows that and is giving this false adaptation of life. And when he gets wind of this, it's just a complete game changer from there. You feel the lie, you feel the betrayal from everybody he's known, and it's just powerful in my sense of, oh, that's a shock. What are we doing? Like, you guys have been lying to me this whole time? Ooh, good water. And the only thing I didn't like was that he never got to find his true love. She was watching from the outside. She warned him that everything was fake, but he never got to hold her hand that one time after leaving. And I honestly think if they would have added that, this movie would have been a 10 out of, this movie would have been, oh, I have it at a 10 out of 10 actually. This movie would have been 11 out of 10. Let's just put it like that. It would have been more than a perfect movie in my eyes. But 36 is The Truman Show. 35. Star Wars The Last Jedi. Listen, I'm not a big Star Wars guy. I've watched all the Star Wars through. I've watched it chronologically through 3 times. And I still can't see why people don't like the new trilogy. I can't see it. Because, to me, it's clean. It's... Sorry, camera stopped there. But, yeah. 35, Star Wars The Last Jedi. It's a clean, it's a sleek, it's a, I wouldn't say tedious movie, but all 3 of the newer movies are just clean, sleek movies, and I like that clean, sleek feel. Because with being in outer space, I feel like you should have that clean, sleek feel into a movie. Not, and I'm not discrediting the older ones or the prequels. I'm not discrediting them at all, because those are great movies in itself. But the newer ones, I feel like should get the same love, if you know what I'm saying. But the cinematography was great in this movie. Everything from the red stormtroopers, Captain Phantasm, all of that. That it's just this, it's just the sleekness of the movie, and then the battle on the salt planet. I forget the name of the planet, but I think it was. I think it's the big salt planet at the end where Kylo Ren was like, "Fire, more, more." They're doing the whole SpongeBob scene thing, but that was that right there was a true hint to me to like love cinematography, because that was just beautiful. Every time they stepped on the sand, it turned red, and I thought it was a nice touch to everything. But the only thing I didn't like about it was not Captain Phantasm not getting her. Is it a her or he? I think it's a her. I could be wrong, but not getting her spotlight more. I feel like her and Kylo Ren could have done more together to capture Rey and Luke and all that, but I just feel like they didn't like utilize her more. But I give that movie a 9 out of 10. Number 34, Hannibal. Hannibal, in my opinion, out of all three of the movies, if you want to include Manhunter, you can. But I personally go Red Dragon, Silence of the Lamb, and Hannibal. Hannibal is the most perfect out of the three. It is. But it does have its flaws. Like, what I love about it was the subtle hints that Clarice wasn't ever trying to lock Hannibal up. That she always had like some love for him, and I don't know if I want to put it in a best friend love or like a relationship love, but I know there was hints of love between the both of them. And the only bad thing I had about the movie was the ending, when she had when she didn't go with him. Now I get she couldn't go with him, but I believe if she would have went with him, he would have stopped killing and doing all that, because he would have found his love and she would have been with her love. You know, that's just the only thing I have wrong with the movie. But overall, it's a 9 out of 10 movie, in my opinion. So, hey, bite me if you will. 33, Larry Bird. My all-time favorite. Yes, my all-time favorite gangster movie, Goodfellas. This movie is what showed me what an Italian, Irishman, what the gangs were just like. And I get it's probably not what it was like to the T, but it gives you a taste of what it was like, and I love that so much. Being Italian with it myself, it's very it shows you a new light up to what American Italian gangsters were back in those days, and how cool they were, how they carried themselves was just different from how you would see anything else. Like, cowboys in the Wild West didn't carry themselves like that. Gangsters to this day don't carry themselves like that, but gangsters from the 30s to the 80s carried themselves a different way, and I really admire that. And that's what that movie shows me. The only thing I didn't like about it, though, was Paulie being a rat. But that's also what I do like about it, because with that type of that, I guess you could say, fame and power you would have, you start to see different outlets and then think you're going the right way when you lead yourself in a down spiral. But then when you have it all, you're like, I need to have it all. I need to keep it all. So him being a rat, I didn't like, but I can also understand at the same time. With that being said, though, I give the movie a 10 out of 10. Because that movie is just my all-time favorite gangster movie. Number 32, No Country for Old Men. Now, I recently just watched this movie earlier this year in like April. And in my opinion, it's not your usual Western, but I love it for that reason. And I say to this day, it's from the past 20 years, 24 years ago, let's go to 2000, it is the best, no, second best modern Western we've had to date, because I feel like Anton's character gave the true adaptation of what crazy is and what a villain is, because he doesn't go by what everybody else goes by. He doesn't plead when you plead. He's nature, in effect. It's he does what he does to get where he's going. There's no if, there's no ands, and there's no buts. He just does. And what showed me that was when I believe the dude didn't do what he said. So he just looked at him with his shotgun, turned him and pulled the shower curtain over, and just shot him and walked away. He didn't look at the body. He didn't do any of that. He didn't even show remorse to the body that he just killed. Just walks away. And I was like, oh, this guy's crazy. Like, that's what turned me on to the movie. It was like, okay, this guy's crazy, and he wants his money. So he's going to go get his money. I like that a lot. But what I didn't like, though, was Josh Brolin's character. I was under the, I think I shouldn't have been under the assumption that he was the main character. But when I seen him dead, I was like, oh my gosh. Then what was I following this movie for? But I'd have to give it a rewatch to understand it more. But I watched it one time, and it was earlier this year. But from what I watched, it's a 9 out of 10 movie. Whew. Number 31. Hacksaw Ridge. Now, let me tell you guys. Hacksaw Ridge is, me being a Christian and everything, faith over fear. I really stand by that. Hacksaw Ridge is quite literally Netflix's best adaptation of anything. They brought this true story into their office and made it perfect to the T. And what I loved about the movie was he stayed, I forget his name, but he stayed strong to his values and what he wanted in the military. He didn't want to kill anybody. He didn't want to hurt anybody. He just wanted to help. And he helped 75 guys off of Hacksaw Ridge. And me seeing that that spoke volume to me. Because every time he saved one of his comrades, it was never, okay, I got this. It was always, God, let me get one more. God, please let me get one more. I just need one more, God, let me. And he did that for all 75 runs down a huge, I believe it was like 150-foot cliff. I could be wrong, but it was a very big cliff. They had to go up and down. Well, he had to go up and down to get these guys. And the only thing I disliked about it was everyone mocked him. No one believed in him. But when he proved everybody wrong, that was just it said and done. And I was like, this is probably I'd say it's my top 3 historic war films of all time. But I give it a 10 out of 10. And we made it to another checkpoint. Candyman 2021. Now, this movie was produced by Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele is my favorite director to date. But he produced this movie, and I was an advocate saying that he made the movie, but no, he didn't direct the movie, he produced it. He got it out there. And I didn't grow up with the original ones. I didn't grow up with Tony Todd's Candyman. I have seen them, obviously, but they would never really clicked with me. But I seen this movie with one of my best friends, and watching this movie, I wasn't terrified, I wasn't scared, but I was interested. I was interested the whole movie, and not a lot of horror movies can get that done nowadays, where they keep you interested. And I love the fact at the end when our protagonist, I forget his name. I forget everybody's name. I should probably write these down. I'm going to do that next time. Remind yourself to do that, Clem. But I liked how at the end the protagonist turned into Tony Todd to show homage to the character, to the original Candyman, and that Candyman is never going to be like a reboot of anything. It's always going to be Candyman, no matter what it is, what era it is, it's always going to be Candyman. Granted, we can't get any more Candyman movies because sadly Tony Todd passed away. Rest in peace. But I didn't agree with the double-sided Candyman story. How there was a Candyman in the walls who would, abduct kids and, do pedophilia things to them. But I give this movie a total 7 out of 10. Number 29, 2008's Strangers. That right there, my friends, is a movie that will keep you jumping and scaring. I love it so much. It is, how can I say, it is one of those movies where the cast and crew all came to an agreement to it's okay to be off script, because from what I've read and what I believe, it's not all the jump scares, but some of the jump scares in that movie were not scripted. So like the man being in the house, she had no idea that was going to happen. And so when you see the genuine fear in the characters and in the protagonist and in any sort of horror movies, it's just wow. You feel the genuineness. You don't feel like they're acting. You actually feel like they're scared, and you love that. And that's why I will always credit an actor and an actress for what they do, because being scared isn't a fun thing, especially when you're in a home invasion movie. In your home, it's not a scary thing. It's not a fun thing to reenact or be in. So I really do condemn them for what they given us and what they do for us, What I disliked though was, I get it was based loosely off a true story, but I didn't like how we didn't get a conclusion to why they were being attacked. Like, I get she said, oh, it's because you were home. Cool. But why? Why do you just do this on a regular basis? Like your regular Thursday, Friday, So that's my only flaw with the movie. I give it a 9 out of 10. And Candyman, I think I said it was 7 out of 10. Number 28, Black Swan. Now, Black Swan, I seen earlier this year as well. First time ever watching it. And Natalie Portman, hands down, murdered this role. This is her best role I've ever seen. I can see why she won an Oscar for it, because this movie right here is just pure. It gives you a new idea of what dedication and motivation and obsession is, and that's what it is. She was so driven to be the Black Swan and perfect. She drove herself to delusion. And I've never seen, not saying delusion's great to have, but it made me feel, in my profession that I am now, being a up and coming or an admiring, or whatever you want to say, aspiring, there's aspiring writer and director, it made me feel that I wasn't being dedicated enough and obsessed enough with my profession, how she was. So it gave me a new light onto that subject, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is hands down that movie people need to see. They need to see this. I should put on some chapstick. That's pretty chapped. Oh my gosh. Quick little mishap. What I didn't like though was her mother being a B word, But yes, Black Swan is a very excellent movie in my opinion, but I give it an 8 out of 10 on the movie scale for me. That's just me though. Number 27, World War Z. Man, can I just say I'm having a really good time doing this. I feel it's nice to show my love for cinema, and I've never done anything like this before. And now that I have the opportunity to do something like this, it's just a nice feeling to have. And to the ones who see this, thank you very much for watching and giving me the time of day to be on your phone, on your computer, on your TV. Just thank you, because that speaks volumes to me. But anyways, enough about me. Let's get back into this list. This is a very great list, in my opinion. But let's get into this list. Number 27, World War Z. This is the greatest. 28 days later, 28 weeks later, they're good movies. They're great. I didn't grow up with them, so I've only seen them a handful of times. But World War Z, I've seen twice, and I'll never watch them again, because that is what I want from a zombie movie. I want to be scared enough to not touch it again. I wanted to make me scared, and that movie made me scared indefinitely. I had dreams about a zombie apocalypse happening, and I did not want that to happen. I didn't want it to be like that. I always told my friends, if there was a zombie apocalypse to happen in the world, and we have clickers from The Last of Us or World War Z zombies, we're done. There's nothing that's happening. Nothing we can do about it, because we're just screwed. And you know how zombies normally walk in cinema, and like The Last of Us, The Walking Dead, it's usually like hands out, like slow moving, or like they'll like trot at you and stuff like that. In this, it wasn't that. It was the most abnormal and uncanny thing you would ever see. Just full sprinting with no thought behind it and crash into something. That right there I can't. Like, it just scares me a lot. And I'll probably watch it sooner, like later in life. But as of right now, I cannot watch that movie for the sole reason that it is what it is. It is the most perfect zombie movie that catches terror within the world. Not even like a state, a city, a country. It's the world that you're seeing being affected by this so heavily. And it's scary to see how fast it's spread too, because I believe it started in I think on the radio they said it started in Philadelphia or something like that, and then it's in Jerusalem. Whoa. But I love this movie a lot. The only thing I didn't like about it though was the fact of the matter is, if you didn't want to get attacked by said zombies, you had to be infected within yourself. So if you had like cancer, AIDS, HIV, like a very dead, like a life-threatening, super life-threatening disease, you were fine. They didn't see you as a threat because they saw you as one. And I didn't really like that. And the vaccine was really that. Like, I get vaccines have that in it, but it was just, I didn't like that part about it. But I give that movie a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. 26. Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. Now listen, guys. This movie is the best one in the trilogy. I mean, in the whole saga. It's better than Bumblebee. It's better than Rise of the Beast. It's even better than Dark Side of the Moon? Dark Side of the Moon. And I can't explain this enough when I say I'll never not be a Shia LaBeouf fan, because this movie right here, once again, like Disturbia, it gave me that love for punk music as a kid. And What I've Done, what was the other one? What I've Done, Numb, all those songs I listened to as a child. Forgot them in my teens and my adolescent years, but those were the songs I grew up on. And I will always cherish this movie, because seeing Optimus die at such a young age was just so monumental to me. It changes your life as a kid. It changes your life, because everybody grows up. Me, personally, I grew up loving Optimus Prime. That was my guy. And then when he dies, Bumblebee picks up the reins, and then you're like, okay, Bumblebee's a cool guy. Let's give him a chance. So, That's one thing I can say about the movie. It will always be a comfort movie. It will always be a comfort movie for me. I can watch that movie 30 times over and never get tired of it. Same with Dark Side of the Moon. I like that one too. But all right, sorry for the interruption. My camera died and I had to go do yard work. Disclaimer of why I changed. So this video is gonna have little cuts. But I left off with 26 Transformers, as you know, and I was gonna say I am not fond of Sam's roommate at all because his roommate just wasn't a good instance in the movie. I didn't like it. But overall, 6 out of 10. Number 25. Zootopia. Now, first animated movie on the list, and I personally believe Zootopia is a very good Disney movie, and for them to bring a mystery and crime into a Disney aspect was very very unheard of, and I'm glad they brought those two worlds together within the cartoon world and crime and mystery, because I am a big fan of crime and mystery movies. Like Chinatown is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's not in the list, sorry, but it's one of my favorites because, sorry, hold up. It is one of my favorite movies. It was thrown in the trash can. It's one of my favorite movies because Zootopia is one of my favorite movies because it's just executed very well, and I'm glad they showed us something new other than the Disney princess and princes and all that stuff. But there's nothing wrong with the movie, and I give it a solid 10 out of 10 because of that. Number 24, our next Cars movie, a childhood favorite of mine, and it is Cars. Cars will always and forever be my favorite Disney Pixar movie because of just the opening of hearing Lightning's V8 engine start, hearing all the cars racing, the music, Life is a Highway, all of that was just very nostalgic, and I never will get over that movie. I think it's personally top 5 Disney Pixar movies of all time. And the one thing I didn't like about it was that Lightning didn't finish the race. I get why he didn't finish the race, and it taught me a lesson very well, but I didn't like how he didn't finish the race. He could have finished the race and then had him, it's just, and I get it, in the other movies he has more Pistons cups, but hurts my head sometimes. 9 out of 10 though. 9 out of 10. Number 23, a movie that came out in 2021. One of my favorite Florence Pugh movies, Don't Worry Darling. And I just want to say Florence Pugh is a very great actress. I love her as, I think her name is it's not Svetlana, it's Ilana, something like that. It's something in Black Widow. She played very good. She was very funny in that. But this movie right here had me, once again, thinking. I love movies that make me think. It gives me a sense of purpose with watching the movie instead of just being entertained. I was entertained, but it gives me that more initiative of paying attention, seeing the little details, seeing why this is that, seeing why this is that, and that's what Don't Worry Darling gives me. And that's why I put it at 23, because it's just a great movie. I won't say excellent, it's just a great movie. But the one thing I didn't like was the ending, how it was very compact. Everything was thrown at you. Bless me. Everything was thrown at you at the very end. Everything was at a Everything was at a smooth pace, going up and down. But once it got to the end, everything was just smashed together. So you didn't really get it at first. So you have to rewatch it again to understand it. That's just for me. It may not be for you, but that's just for me. But I'd give that movie a 7 out of 10. 22. Now, I know I said Hannibal was my favorite of the trilogy of Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, and Hannibal, but Red Dragon is number 22. Red Dragon is different from the other two. It's different from Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal because we're not focused on Clarice in Hannibal. I feel like we're more focused on Edward Norton's character and the Tooth Fairy a lot more. Hannibal is used in the movie, yes, just how he is in Silence of the Lambs, but I feel like it's just more of a connection with, because he's trying to figure out the Tooth Fairy, and the Tooth Fairy is getting tips from Hannibal on how to stop the detective that's trying to find him, and I think that's very interesting too. That two serial killers working together instead of it just being the detective and the serial killer trying to find the serial killer. You know, so that's why I put this one above. But and what I didn't like about it was I wanted more of the Tooth Fairy. Like, I wanted him to be shown more because it's a prequel. Like I said in Silence of the Lambs, it was fine because it was Clarice and Hannibal. But since it's being a prequel, I would have wanted more, like, of that, oh, Tooth Fairy action, you know what I'm saying? And even though we got his, like, backstory kind of and everything, I just feel like there could have been more implemented on it. But overall, 9 out of 10 movie. Number 21, another war movie. Another war horror movie. Oh, sorry. Another war horror movie. War horror movie. Another historic war movie. Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket. That movie in itself, this movie in itself is not the full depiction of what war is, but them being in Vietnam, it shows you how a man could lose his mind and go through things, and it shows a very good perspective of the journalist's point of view of war. And watching it at a young age, it really set a tone for me of how the world is and how the world works. And I take nothing from this movie. This movie is great to me, and that's why I have it at 21. But what I have no dislike about the movie at all. So 9 out of 10 for this movie. All right, we're at another checkpoint. Number 20. Can you guess? You can't, because it's my list. My number 20 movie, Halloween Kills. Now, I'm not a big Michael Myers fan. I'm not a big Halloween fan because I didn't watch the old ones. The first one I watched was the 2007 and 2009 one, and watching that at like my age, I was what? I was what, 4? I was 4 and 5 when I seen those movies. Those were not movies I needed to be watching at that age, and it just really terrified me. So I never really paid attention to those movies at all. But when the new timeline came into order in 2018, 2021, I believe, and no, 2018. I think it's 2018, 2021, and 2022. I believe, I could be wrong by the time, but when they came out with those, I believe those were a very good mix into everything. I like that trilogy a lot more because it dived into who Michael Myers was, and it showed why he does what he does, and I really like that. What I didn't like, though, was how everybody in the town had an innocent man killed for the lack of assumption of one man. Very much so. It was when Lori had said, you call her sheep, that's not him. They should have been listening to her because she knows this. She's been the town crazy about Michael Myers, so shouldn't she know a lot more about who Michael is and how he looks, instead of being like, oh, yeah, let's listen to this one random guy we don't know, you know? But I give this movie an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Now, another trilogy. Number 19, A Quiet Place Day One. This movie is perfect in all aspects. I wish so many people could watch this movie, because this movie is just what an apocalyptic movie is this. The hordes of the death angels, the city going into fear and not knowing what to do because they don't know what these things are. The dust, the clouds, the survival, it just changes. And at that, it starts in New York, the most noisiest city ever. And it being a start of that, like how we seen it all start, was just it's a shock. It's gonna change you. You don't know what's gonna happen. That's why I love it so much, because you just and you feel for the characters a lot. You feel for them. You feel their emotion. And I feel like you don't get those from the other two movies. But what I didn't like about the movie is hate me or love me, but I wish she would have got on the boat. Yes, I know she was going through. I think she had diabetes, but I wish she would have got on the boat, because that would have made me so happy. But her sacrificing, like her ending her life the way she did, I understood it, because it was like she doesn't want to live in this world. She's already going through it, so she's just done. So I understand it. But I give this movie a 10 out of 10. Number 18. Our second superhero movie. Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm a big Batman fan. And a lot of people don't like Ben Affleck's Batman. I'm one of them. But this movie, even though it is the readaptation of the first Justice League, it takes the clips and scenes. I feel like this movie does it a lot more justice. Does his Batman a lot more justice than what it is, because it is an older Batman that's in his 40s, and he's getting older, but he can't do what he used to do. So he's a lot broader and a lot bigger. My favorite Batman adaptation through all comics, all cinema, all that, is the Batman, The Dark Knight Returns. That's my favorite. That's my favorite Batman. Frank Miller's Batman Returns. That's my favorite. But this is the first 4-hour movie that I've watched with no breaks. Watched it fully through. Had no problem doing that. And I loved every bit of it. Every bit of it. The only thing I didn't like about it, though, was that Martian Manhunter had no purpose. Because they showed him, but then we dismantled the DCEU. Like, it just was just a waste. So I was like, why are we showing him if we're not going to use our third superhero movie? X-Men First Class. Now, out of all the X-Men movies, X-Men, not Logan, not X-Men Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine, not the Wolverine, and not Deadpool Wolverine, not Deadpool, not New Mutants. X-Men movie, this is perfect. It shows you the beginning of the X-Men. It shows you Charles and Xavier's friendship growing. It shows you why Magneto's the way. It shows you Charles and Xavier, that's the same guy. It shows you Charles and Eric's friendship grow. It shows why Magneto's the way he is. And I fully condemn that, because it's not that he's the way he is just because he is the way he is, because of what mankind did to him and what they forced him to do as a mutant. If you wanted your mother to live, you need to perform your tricks. So I get that. I understand it. And I really love that they showed us his backstory. What I didn't like, though, was Darwin dying. A guy that can adapt to anything to live cannot die. So why is a supernova allowing him to die? I literally read a comic where he was getting pummeled by the Hulk, and his body didn't know how to adapt to it. So what happened? His body teleported him away. Something could have happened. Darwin cannot die. Literally can't. But I give this a 9 out of 10 as a movie. Number 16. Get Out. Like I said, Jordan Peele is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, director. Coming from a childhood of watching Key and Peele every day on Comedy Central, when I heard he was coming out with a movie, it kind of threw me off. And I was like, Okay, what does a comedy guy got to do with a movie? Then I heard it was a horror movie, so I was like, okay, I'm kind of iffy about that. Mind you, it came out in 2017, so it's like, we're just jumping in the scene, right? So with his three movies, this is undoubtedly his best movie. I feel like out of Get Out, Us, and Nope. I love Nope, but Get Out, Us, and Nope. This is his best movie. It's well thought out, and I loved how he was writing this movie, and he went to go give it to the studio, and he told him, he was like, I don't think a white person can make this movie, being in the times that we were in at that time, and they just gave it to him and said, you make it then, and he made it, and it gave him, and it got him, I believe, best picture, I believe, I could be wrong, and this movie is just flat out phenomenal in my eyes. But the one thing I did not like about it, I wish we got the alternate ending. I wish we got to see Chris go to jail for killing I forget her name, but killing the nanny who was the grandma. I wish we would got to see that, because that was him going to jail. His friend Rod was gonna get him out. Was gonna be fighting the system to get him out, but he told Rod, don't do it. I'm good where I'm at, because he knows was saving Georgina, with saving Georgina, that would have filled a gap in his soul for not going out and saving his mom when she died on the street. So I wish we got the alternate ending, but any other than that, 10 out of 10 movie. Number four. Comic book movie. Short to say about this movie. Watched it 6 times. But number 15, Logan. This movie is phenomenal. The best comic book movie of all time. You can't do a comic book movie better than this. Yes, there's been plenty of great comic book movies, but this is just perfect. Down from the beginning, middle, end. Perfect. That's all I gotta say about it. Characters were X-23, just perfect. Nothing wrong with this movie. 10 out of 10 movie. On to 14. Number 14. Child's Play 2. Now growing up in a family who loved horror movies, I was scared relentlessly of them. And my main fear was Chucky. I used to have nightmares and terrified of this guy. But when I got older, to come back around and watch these movies, it was I won't say a sort of clarity, but I appreciated it. I appreciated the work that went into the practical effects, the script writing. I really enjoy the second one out of the whole saga. Even the show. The show's okay, but this movie I really enjoy. But what I don't like is when they treat Andy as he's a lost cause after the events of the first movie, because I feel like the cop in the first movie should have vouched for the mother so her son didn't get taken away from her. That's all. How I feel. But that movie's a 6 out of 10. Number 13. Can you guess? Can't? Of course you can't. It's my list. Number 13. Friday the 13th. Part 8. You should have seen that coming. It's a long and grueling movie. It's a long, grueling saga. Like, all cheesy horror movies that had a saga up into like the 2000s are all long and repetitive. It's the same thing. But what I liked about this one, why I like it so much different, is because we expanded from Crystal Lake. We got away from Crystal Lake and we got to Manhattan. At the peak of New York City, Jason takes Manhattan. That spoke volumes to me, and I love how we got to see Jason go on a big manhunt chase outside of Crystal Lake and it being a big city, because you don't know where all these people could be, but he somehow finds them all the time and gets his kill. What I didn't like though is that his lore, he dies from water. Him and water don't mix, but he got there by water, and he died by water. So it's like, okay, word. But this movie, I give it a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. Number 12, The Nightmare on Elm Street. 2, Freddy's Revenge. Like I said about the last one, sagas like this are long and grueling, and they just long and repetitive. But this one didn't take his repetitive step. This one took, Freddy was trying to take over a kid's body to become more powerful. Yes, he's in their dreams, trying to like kill them in their dreams to like gain their souls or whatever. But he was trying to become a human again, so he could take that kid's spot in the real world. And that right there is just what I love the most about this movie. What I didn't like is that he still had his powers, even though he was going in and out of the real world and the fake world. He still had his powers in the real world, and it didn't make sense to me because anytime he was brought into the real world, he didn't have those powers anymore. But I give this movie an 8 out of 10. I give that an 8 out of 10. And number 11, It, 1990 TV miniseries. Once again, long movie, but reading the book is far different than all adaptations of Pennywise. It's so much different. It's a lot more gruesome, but this is one of the first horror movies I seen, only because my mother told me to watch it if I wanted to if I wanted to see the new It that came out in 2017, and I was starting to get into it. So I watched it, and it was a lot less than I expected. I thought it was going to be horrifying, but it was more of an appreciation watch. Like, oh, that's amazing. Like, this clown's funny, but he's also doing what he's doing to these kids and these adults when they get older and everything. I have no dislike for this movie, but I give it an 8 out of 10. You made it. You made it to the last 10 of my top 50 movies of all time. Thank you for being on this journey with me. Thank you for listening to my opinions about my last 40 movies. Thank you for just being here. It means a lot to me. But let's get these last 10 knocked out, and we'll end the video on a good note. A great note, actually. Number 10, Joker. My favorite Joker of all time is Jack Nicholson's Joker. That's the first Batman movie I've ever watched. And his Joker, the 1989 Batman, that Joker will always be my favorite. But this movie, I love it so much because I'm a big fan of being different. And that's what it was. We didn't get the Joker who's like Heath Ledger's Joker, who's who's smart, who's maniacal, who does what he has to do to get shit done. We get a loser. No one knows Arthur Fleck. No one knows him. And the fact that he goes from a loser to a symbol in Gotham, in 1980s Gotham, was just new to me, and I love new things. I love new ideas, and I feel like Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix really mastered that image of this new Joker. And I can't wait to see the second one. I haven't seen it yet, but it's on Max. I can't wait to see that one. A lot of hate's going on it, but I don't care. Like I said, I like this Joker, and I can't wait to see what that second one has to offer. There's no dislike with this movie, and I give it a 10 out of 10. Number 9. Once again, I know I said Hannibal is the most perfect one of the trilogy, but number 9 is Silence of the Lambs. The sole purpose is that's the one I started with. When I was a kid, my mom was I'd watch movies with her, and Signs of the Lambs was one of those movies that we watched together, and it never creeped me out. It never did. But as a kid, I seen the love that Clarice and Hannibal had, and I love how she wasn't afraid of him, and I think that's why he liked her. And in the instance of that movie, Buffalo Bill was a good side story of the movie. Like, I get he was the main story, but I feel the main story was Clarice and Hannibal. I feel like that was the main story between the both of them. But the only dislike I have about this movie, that one scene with Hannibal in the big birdcage cell in the middle of the room. They were just so oblivious to, like, I get they didn't know he had it on him, but like, one wasn't paying attention enough, and it just, that one pissed me off. But out of everything, I give this one a 9 out of 10. Number 8, Star Wars Rogue One. Now, I've seen this movie, what, 5, 6 times. I really think, as for cinematography goes, I feel like this movie is top of the line of cinematography in the Star Wars universe, because the gray undertones is my favorite undertones of any movie, and it giving me that, and it being, like I said, I love sleek movies, like the futuristic movies. I love when they're sleek looking like this, because it's just perfect to me. My only dislike about the movie is I wish people liked it more and gave it more credit. I wish it wasn't so underrated. But I give it a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. Number 7, The Dark Knight. Now, this is my second favorite Batman movie of all time. This is my second favorite. Being for the fact that it gave us Heath Ledger's Joker, and it showed the dynamic between not one but 2 villains Batman had to go against. Yes, the villains revolved around the movie revolved around Two-Face and the Joker, but Batman did also have a big part of it. Christian Bale's Batman had a big part of it, and I liked how they captured it all together. I like how Christopher Nolan did that. I feel like it's Christopher Nolan's top 5 best movies of all time. Because Heath Ledger did do his part in that movie very, very well. The only dislike I have about it is that he saved Two-Face. That's it. I wish he would have saved Rachel. I was on Two-Face's side. Like, I was screaming Rachel as well. Rachel! I was mad about that one. But, a big guy. I give this a 10 out of 10. Number 6, The Dark Knight Rises. Once again, it's one of those movies where I can rewatch and not have a problem rewatching it, because I know what's going to happen. Like, I don't have a problem rewatching The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, because the simplicity of Christopher Nolan does with the villains in the movie is amazing. I love how he has the double villain in all 3 of his films. Like, the first one, Batman Begins, it's Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul. Second one, Two-Face and the Joker. This one, Batman finally has another protagonist that betrays him, but they also come back together and live a life together, being in Catwoman. But in this one, it'd be Talia al Ghul and Bane. And I just love how they captured Bane's backstory and Talia's betrayal to Bruce. I love that. What I didn't like was how Bruce was just like sheltered away from the world. And like, I get his whole persona is him being Batman, but like, you gotta go make money, man. You gotta go outside. You gotta go do your thing, man. Come on. What you doing, man? But 10 out of 10 movie, in my opinion. Number 5, Inglourious Bastards. Quentin Tarantino. This is my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie of all time. He he did an interview where he said when he was writing the movie he wanted he wanted Brad Pitt to play the role because as he was writing it he could see Brad Pitt as being that dude for the role. And I like all the small undertones of the movie. For instance, when they were when they had the spy in the German bar, and he did, I believe he did this in German, and not in Nazi Germany. You don't do this. To say three, I believe it was this or this, and he didn't do the right number three sign, and then the dude knew, oh, he's a spy. He doesn't know how we put up the number three. So in that instance, everybody started this blast, and everybody in the room died. Everybody who had a part in that movie was perfect. Perfect. I say nothing bad about this movie, and it's a 10 out of 10. Number 4, American Psycho. This is my comfort movie. This movie right here just, I don't know. It's like, I can watch it, like, all these movies, like, in my top 10, I can rewatch over and over again. But this movie, I rewatched 12 times, back to back to back. Because it made me a cinebro, you know? It made me love movies even more because they could have such well hidden stories within themselves. Because the whole time I was watching, the first 10 times I watched it, I just thought it was a guy going crazy and just killing people. But then I realized, oh, this is all in his head. That makes sense. That makes sense why the car blows up randomly. That makes sense why the blood trail in the hotel didn't pop up when he picked up the body and all that. And he's just a guy who's just a narcissist who thinks all this is happening when it's not happening. And I really give credit to it. But what I didn't like though was that it was all in his head. Like, I wish all this happened so it made more sense. But now that I like think about it as I get older, it's like, okay, I get why that's it, but that part just makes me kind of mad. I guess we'll get 9 out of 10 though. 9 out of 10. Number 3, The Shining. The Shining is a long, boring movie. I will not lie. It is a very boring movie. But if you sit down and watch it, you can see the true motives of what isolation and cabin fever can give you, and that's what happens to Jack. It's either you could think it's the isolation and the cabin fever, or it's the Overlook Hotel's spirits that were in there getting to him and feeding him this negativity and causing him to turn on his family. That's where I go about it. You can go two ways about it: the cabin fever and isolation, or the Overlook Hotel spirits. The only bad about this movie was Wendy not being reasonable. Like, I was working, I didn't hit Jack, you know. I think that was the probably only dislike I had about the movie. So I give it an 8 out of 10. Number 2, Oppenheimer. Yes, I know it's a little early for a movie like this to be in my top 2, but Christopher Nolan once again did his greatest with the practical effects, with the shots, with the neurons and the neutrons and stuff hitting each other like he did. Watching this movie in the cinema was just probably the best cinematic experience I've ever had in my life. And nothing could ever beat that. Nothing. And I genuinely am so glad that I got to experience that within myself. I'm glad I got to experience that. Because this movie gave me a new life in cinema. Like, it gave me the thought, okay, if Robert J. Oppenheimer made a nuke, then why can't I make a movie? Why does, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it just, I love it. I love it. Nothing wrong about the movie. 10 out of 10. Sorry, I had to stop for a minute. Had to do a couple things around the house. But my number one movie, my greatest favorite, whatever you want to say, my top 50 list. The number one spot. I just want to say thank y'all for who watched to the end, who stayed to the end, who supports this video, who likes this video, who leaves a comment, whether it's negative or bad. I mean, negative or good. Thank you for watching the video, and I love to hear everyone's opinions and thoughts about this. But I would like to continue and finish this video off. My number one movie of my top 50 greatest movies of all time. The Batman, 2022. This universe that we're being introduced to is probably the best thing for me and for DC fans all around, because I grew up a Batman fan. I'm a number one Batman fan. That's my guy. That's my ride or die. I will vouch for Batman any aspect of the day. I will vouch for that guy. I've seen this movie to date 30 times, and it never gets me bored. It's never boring to me at all. Sorry, I have the hiccups, but this movie is just flat out perfect. Because yes, Christopher Nolan did a great job with, and Christian Bale did a great job with Batman. Zack Snyder did a good job with Ben Affleck's Batman. Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Adam West, all are good Batmans in their aspect, but none of them capture who Batman is. Not Bruce Wayne. Batman. Whole movie he is on the go for being a detective. It's year 2, so he's really embodying that Batman aspect, and I feel like Robert Pattinson does a very good job with showing that in the movie. How he walks out of his room, and he's like, he doesn't want to be seen, like he doesn't want like the light in his eyes because he's out every night, so he has to put on his shades. He's all dark and gloomy. He only goes out when it involves his nightly life. Stuff like that is what Batman is. He is a detective. He is a person that solves mysteries, crime, riddles. He does that. All of the Batmans are good in their other aspect, but this movie is just perfect to me. There's no flaws in it. None. And I'm glad that Matt Reeves finally gave justice to the character Batman. Not Bruce Wayne and Batman, but just Batman itself. And then a bonus note, I'm glad that the Penguin is also a very good, very great spin-off of what this universe has in store for us. With that being said, though, this movie's a 10 out of 10, obviously, and it's my gold standard movie. I'll sit through the 3 hours, and I'll do that. But that's a wrap on my top 50 list. Thank y'all for being here and enjoying this with me and hearing my thoughts on my top 50 movies of all time. I'll try my best to put out more videos, but this was just a video that I want to do for fun. It was a nice idea, and I may get this ball rolling and see what happens, and see if I can meet new people, see if I can get in touch with other people, and maybe one day do something with it. But as of right now, thank you for joining me, and have a nice day. Have a nice life.